Welcome to episode 12 of the 24-Hour Hustle Show, and today we got special guest Thomas West, who owns his own brick and mortar store called Trim Pittsburgh. Welcome to the 24-Hour Hustle Show. I'm your host, Anthony Freeze, and once again, we got a good friend of mine who've actually been able to be referred through us to a lot of other people that have been on the show, and I've heard a lot of great things about you and a lot of things that you're doing, not only for your store, but definitely for the city of Pittsburgh. So welcome to the show, Thomas.
Thanks. That's great. Good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks. That's cool.
Yeah. Like I said, one of the people that who was on the show before was Michael Evan, who actually done some modeling for some of the shoots that you've done that are in your store and things like that. So he recommended you. Nice. Kudos to him.
Yes.
For being able to do that. So obviously you're definitely doing something impactful. So definitely want to be able to have you on the show.
Oh, thanks. Good to be here. It's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So what's been going on the past couple of days? I know you're definitely a busy man.
Getting ready for the holidays and Small Business Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
So that, leading up to it, there's a lot of stuff going on,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of deliveries coming in, a lot of ordering,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to rev up some excitement for, all the shopping that happens. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's an important time of year for small business. So
absolutely,
so it's a lot of hard work, but it pays off.
Absolutely,
yeah.
This is definitely the time of the year to be able to go out and support small businesses.
Yes, very important.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. So as we do always on this show, let's get into your background, your story a little bit. Kind of find out your upbringing, where you're from, how you grew up. Where you went to school, did you like school? And then kind of get into transition into, what your job may have been and how you got into entrepreneurship. So
sure.
let's start with that.
All right, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sort of from Pittsburgh and sort of from Florida. I grew up like in between, going back and forth. And then I went off to school in Vermont. Went for meteorology, which is nothing what I'm doing now at all.
So what inspired you to get into that first?
I love weather. Living in Florida, I remember the morning I woke up and we got hit with a tropical storm, and I woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and I just remember hearing the wind blow, and I'm like, what is going on? And I looked outside, and the palm trees were blowing, and I didn't really pay attention to news or anything like that because I was a kid. But I found out the next day that a tropical storm had hit Florida. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. And from that point on, like I started tracking hurricanes you would get hurricane tracking charts. And, I was into that. I don't know. Then I started watching the Weather Channel. Anyway, it's a long story. But then eventually I went off to school to be a meteorologist, which I never have done. But it was a fun journey. So yeah. And fell into TV news producing.
Cool.
Yeah, after that. And from there, because I went to school in Vermont, from there I just went off to Minneapolis, Columbus, here in Pittsburgh. And this is where I am now.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get into because we do a lot of media here as well, as you can see. Yeah. So how did you get into media? Like what inspired that as well? I mean, because a lot of those things that you talked about are a lot different from what you do now.
Right. Well, I mean, it helped me out, but yeah. So meteorology, I went to my senior year in college for meteorology. But I was getting a communications associates, but I just kind of switched it because I kind of enjoyed working in the newsroom because we had a college newsroom. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed working with that. And so what we did is I went out on stories, became a reporter for our college news station. And while I was doing that, I got a job in Burlington, Vermont, working as a writer. Mm-hmm. So I would, I kind of got interested doing that kind of stuff. And then I made the switch, and then didn't become a reporter at all. Found a job in Minneapolis as a producer. So I picked up and moved to Minneapolis and became a producer.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So no plan. But yeah.
So how was school for you? Like, were you into school? Did you not like school? Because I know for most entrepreneurs, they maybe feel like it's not for them. Or what I've learned is they just feel like they just learn differently.
Yeah.
So what was your thought process on, like, just school?
Well, growing up, I was always told you go to college after high school. So in my head, I never thought anything differently. Mm-hmm. I always thought that's the journey you're supposed to go on, which some people it's not, and that's great. Some people it is, like me. I went and I enjoyed it. I got to meet a lot of people, which I really liked. I don't think I'd be where I am now if I didn't have not necessarily the school experience, but the friends that I created experience, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's, yeah.
Yeah, I kind of lost track there.
But no wrong answers
I go on
here.
these tangents, yeah. But yeah, what's good?
Yeah, no wrong answers here. Yeah, so whenever you got into working full-time, before you started Trim Pittsburgh, what were you doing exactly before then? What was your job and position then?
I was a producer, TV news producer.
Oh, so that's what you were doing.
So
okay.
So I went into TV news producing in Minneapolis, and then I moved all over the place. That's one thing you have to do in TV. You have to keep moving up. So anybody who works in TV, they know people pretty much all over the place because you have to move around so much. But yeah, so eventually I spent 15 years in TV, and you're living your life second by second, having to pay attention to everything that's happening in the world locally. So it's a lot of having to be on top of everything. And eventually that kind of drains you a little bit. And I was looking for a new adventure. And so I've always wanted to own my own business. And I had this idea for a while. I remember when I lived in Minneapolis, I had the idea, but I never thought it was going to be a reality. And eventually one day I was like, it's time to do it now or never. Yeah.
So that brings up a good question that I wanted to ask. So how did you go from being a full-time employee to, being a full-time business owner? How did you make that transition? Because, you were working the job and then you one day, boom, business owner. The next.
It was kind of boom, a slow boom. But yeah, working full time. What I did is I went to Pitt. They have the Small Business Development Center. Did that. I think it was like a couple Fridays, if I remember correctly. And they help you kind of see what's into creating your own business, because I had no idea. I mean, I had never owned a business before. In my head, I'm thinking, wow, this must be really complicated. All the paperwork you have to do. If you miss some paperwork, who knows what's going to happen. But they kind of led the way a little bit. They help you get a business plan together and things like that. So I would do that and the tail end, and then came the day that I left my TV job, and then it was just like, whew. It was just like, whoa, what am I going to do now? Like Monday through Friday, I don't have anything to do. I'm trying to put this business together, but there's processes that take a little time to do. So I quit in August, and I didn't open my store until April of the next year. So I had all that time and trying to get things together, and I wasn't used to having so much time to try to figure things out. So I felt like I was always lacking in something or not doing something I should be doing. But eventually I found out that I was overthinking.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the one thing you don't want to do is overthink. When you overthink, sometimes you get in your own way.
Yeah.
So it turned out, and that's the process. It was a slow process, but then when it opened, it just.
Well, since we're on it, what were some of the things that you did in that process to get it off and running?
Well, I remember the first thing I did to make it real in my head that I was going to open my own business was I got a domain name on the internet.
Okay.
I was like, all right, I have trimpittsburgh.com. I'm like, it's there. So it's something I could see, and so it was real, and I'm like, well, it's now or never for real now. And so I did that. I started contacting some of the brands that I like, just took it from there. And I listened to a lot of advice, because the only experience I had really in retail was I worked for Abercrombie & Fitch years ago when I had my first TV job. And at Mall of America, because working in TV, you don't make any money. So I had 2 jobs, which is cool because I learned some stuff there that I didn't realize I learned, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I just listened to a lot of advice from people and just took it step by step. Went with my gut with a lot of things too. But there were some things like I had meetings with people who wanted to loan me money, but it just wasn't right. Like I didn't feel like that was the place to go, because when you want to start a small business, you have to be like, okay, how am I going to get the money to do it? How, and the last thing you want to do is get into so much debt at the beginning that it just ruins the course. There were a lot of meetings I had, a lot of trying to figure out on my own, like, what I wanted to do with the business, it all came together. It's kind of like walking through a dark room. You don't know where you're going, but eventually you find the light switch and it comes on, you know?
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
I mean, that's definitely how entrepreneurship is. I mean, a lot of the stuff in the future that you want to do can be unknown.
Right.
So what initially made you, want to take the jump into entrepreneurship? Like, what was the motivation for you?
Working for myself.
That was
making my own decisions. I mean, literally, it's great working for people who are, I've had really no really bad experiences in TV. And you become like a family in TV anyway. But I think working for yourself, making your own decisions, and if this is a way you want to do something, you can do it because there's really no one to tell you not to.
Right.
But then again, if you're going to make a bad decision, there's no one there to say, hey, listen, you probably don't want to do that,
Right.
unless you have good friends or friends in the business world. So, I've always wanted to own my own business, too. Like I said, as a kid, I would have one of those, toy registers. You'd hit the buttons and charge up, I don't know, stupid things like you around the house. And I don't know, it was always in my blood. And I think I always knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when, I didn't know how, I didn't know all this stuff,
It's funny when I think about, having to take that responsibility of being a business owner and getting into entrepreneurship and things like that. A great thing I've heard someone say before about being in business for yourself, they said, the good news is you're in business for yourself.
Yes.
The bad news is you're in business for yourself.
It's all on you.
It's all on you.
Yeah.
So like you said to your point, like if you make a great decision, it's like boom, you made it. But
and celebrate when you do, because that bad decision could be right around the corner. But
exactly. And then it's like if you make a bad decision, everybody's looking at you like, come on, dude, like what's going on?
Yep.
I definitely totally feel you on that.
Yeah.
So when you were in that process of starting Trim Pittsburgh, what were some of the initial challenges that you faced in the beginning, and what were those challenges specifically, and how did you overcome them, and how can someone else overcome them?
Well, so one of the things is you're always competing online, and I kind of knew this going in, you'd be competing online. And that's something that, as anyone who has a brick and mortar store, you're continually not fighting against, but you're competing against online. So that's one of the things. But I needed to find a place. I mean, because I'm in brick and mortar, I need a place to have a storefront.
Yeah, absolutely.
It needed to be in an area that, you wanted to find that was either up and coming or had pedestrian traffic, because it's important. And once you got that done, you had to find the brands to come in. So there's a lot of small things that lead up to big things. But I think the biggest challenge I had was finding a place, which I did. Pretty simply, I was kind of surprised. Again, I was thinking to myself, this can't be as easy as what I'm thinking it is. There has to be something lurching around the corner. But that was a big one. And just opening up, making sure you get everything done. Like I said, it was simpler than what I thought it was going to be. But as a business owner now, the biggest competition for a small business is online. Dealing with online as a brick and mortar store. That's a big thing, because a lot of people are getting to be trained to just go to a site, but then you're like, hey, listen, there's an experience with shopping, and I've heard it over and over again is, I buy online and I don't feel like I'm shopping, so I spend more than what I should, because it doesn't seem real. There's a reality thing to it when you hit buy that you don't get, then that you do get if you're inside the store. And then I think the other challenge I have right now, especially right now, is employees. For the 2.5 years, I worked 7 days a week, and I'm back to 7 days a week now. So you have to be prepared for that. I mean, in my head, I thought, oh, I'm 7 days a week. It's all good, whatever.
I could do it.
It's all good. But after a while, you start. It gets to you.
The fatigue gets to come in,
and that's only natural. But the thing is as long as you have the excitement for your job, you can overcome that challenge, right? And then employees is another thing. I hired employees. I had great employees, which they went off, and the first employees I had got full-time jobs. Congrats to them. That was great. We still, hang out and have, we're still friends. But that's the big thing now, is trying to find the right person to replace them. It's a challenge. It's a challenge for any small business.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things in there that we could definitely cover and talk about.
Yeah.
So let's cover the first one and unpack this one.
How I like to ramble.
No, it's all good. Like we keep it real here. I mean,
Yeah.
we like to be transparent. If this is how you are, I mean, this is how we
is
like
me.
it. This is how we like it.
Yeah.
So let's unpack the first thing, which is competing with online.
Yeah.
And what made you want to go into having a brick and mortar store? Actually, even before that, what would you say Trim Pittsburgh is? Like, how would you define what Trim Pittsburgh is, so that people are aware and get the context behind it?
So what I did for Trim Pittsburgh is I wanted a store that was a little different that not many cities have, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and I wanted something where you didn't have a lot of selection in other stores. So men's underwear, there's tons of men's underwear out there, and I just wanted to get the best underwear for guys in one spot, because you don't know what you're going to get, and a lot of guys go to their typical what they've worn forever, but then that went on to swimwear. So I carry swimwear year round for vacations. I got a lot of people coming in because they take winter vacations, and there's no other place to go for that, which is good. I'm glad I'm there for them, because I know what it was like when I didn't have a store to try to find this stuff. It moved to socks, it moved to shirts. Now I'm creating my own shirts. So it's expanding a little bit. But that's what I do. I try to get things that you can't normally get in Pittsburgh.
Oh, I see.
So it's pretty cool, and it's working out, knock on wood, so far. But that's pretty much what it is.
Awesome.
It's a men's boutique.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So one of the first things we wanted to try to unpack. So what made you initially want to start up a retail store, brick and mortar store, instead of maybe having both, or maybe starting with the online?
I don't want to say I'm old school when it comes to that, because I don't think shopping main streets is old school. I think it's for any neighborhood to succeed, you have to have stores on your main streets. I mean, you have to. Otherwise, you're going to have empty storefronts, and no one's going to, you're going to get to a spot where nothing's happening. So I think I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to be part of a main street. I wanted to interact with my customers. I wanted to, I have friends that I've made through being customers at my store. I think there's something to be said about owners meeting your customers and making sure they get the right style for them, making sure that if they want something, be like, hey, listen, I can get that for you. It's great, and let me provide that for you. Is that one-on-one that I really like. And working in TV news, you're always meeting new people. You're always doing that kind of thing. And I wanted to keep that going too. So I'm the face-to-face thing I really like. So that's part of the reason. And I've come to realize, and 2018 is the big thing, to slowly try to get online. I think they do have to go hand in hand.
Yeah.
It's just, as a small business, it takes a little longer to do it than, say, Target or Walmart or something.
Right.
It takes or Amazon.
Oh yeah.
No dis with Amazon.
Oh yeah. No, not at all.
But it takes a while to get there, and it's a process to go through. And you get a customer base, and they're excited for you. That's one thing I realized too, is that customers get excited for you when you do something or you succeed at something. And that's something I wouldn't have gotten if I was online. You know what I mean? That face to face and that excitement, and realize that. And I celebrate success with my customers. If they get a new job, that's exciting.
Yeah.
And that's something you don't get just ordering online.
Yeah.
But it is coming.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely pros and cons to both. I mean, I feel, depending on the business, of course, I definitely feel like, to your point, having the interaction with your customers and things like that is definitely a greater experience that you can have that they can't get online. And then to the online point, I think that is definitely great to be able to reach a bunch of people that may not have the access or the resources to be able to come to Pittsburgh. Maybe it's people that are not even from Pittsburgh that can still shop at your store.
Well, think about if you were interviewing people just through Skype, as opposed to having someone sitting across from you. It's kind of like that experience you wouldn't get.
Right.
Yeah. So you understand.
That's actually a good point. I mean, because I actually do both. I do the face to face, and then if somebody's not in Pittsburgh but they're doing big things and they can't get here, I'm more than happy to do a Skype interview. So that's actually a good point. I didn't think about it like that. So another thing that we can unpack in having a retail store is employees. So how do you go about hiring employees? How do you go about staffing? And what's your thought process on how you do your staffing?
Well, so that's a learning curve that I'm still learning. And, so I think when I started out, I had friends who knew friends who, I could hire and I could trust them. Trust is a big thing with employees.
Oh yeah.
And someone who just walks off the street, which is fine, and you can have a resume and you get a gut feeling when you talk to somebody, but at the same time you don't really know them. And if you ask any business owner, like, it's always hard to find really good employees. And so I'm still learning on the best way to do this.
Okay.
I just hired somebody. So far, so good. But I think you have to go with your gut a lot of times, especially so if I'm not at the store, they're the face of the store.
Right.
So they're the ones, if someone comes in for the first time, they're the ones who are going to leave the impression on if they want to come back. Because, they say you go into a place, the first couple of seconds, you make your impression. Okay, I don't think I'm ever going to come back here, or this is great, I want to come back all the time. And I think you have to find somebody who fits that fits more like you, if that makes sense, and how you want your customers to be treated. So it's a little tricky. I'm still learning. So yeah.
Now I've personally never hired anybody or anything like that. I mean, I want to get to that point. I've collaborated with a lot of people and working on projects to get the vision out that I want to have happen. So one of the 3 things that I know I look for when I want to work with someone or I want to do something big is know, like, and trust. Is it somebody that I could feel like I can get to know on many different levels, whether it's on a mindset level, on a personal level, or even on an ambitious level? Like, where can I connect with them as far as getting to know them? And then, do I even like them?
Right. That's a big thing.
Can we have a good laugh or something like that?
Right.
Can we have a good chemistry where we can get along and things like that?
Right.
If we have a down moment and things like that, we can push right through that, no problem. And then, and also to your point, you got to be able to trust them.
Right.
That is highly important because you're trusting somebody to carry on some of the tasks, take on some of the workload that you're doing, and trust that they're going to be able to help along and do it. Right. So those are 3 things that I find to be very important.
And not only that, but you have to so I'm the type of person I like to be friends with people, right?
Right.
So you have to make sure that there's that line. Like the 3 employees I had at the beginning, we're still friends afterwards. But I think when someone works for you, you can be friends, but you still have to have that, as in, this is my space. This is how the store needs to go. You have to make sure that you still make the decisions and friendships don't get involved and it turns bitter or something.
Right.
So that's another thing. But.
So what are so with dealing with employees and things like that, because you have brought on some people that you didn't know from the beginning. So what are some the challenge of hiring employees and then kind of just building up that culture within your organization, just so that they can feel like they have a place where they could come, they could work, they could learn, and be able to prosper in their journey.
Right. Well, first of all, when I hire somebody, I work with them. So some of them have another job, so I'm open to how I can work around your schedule sometimes. So they know that they're important people. They have their life that they're trying to do, and they have goals that they want to succeed at. And I don't want to be a hindrance, but I want to be like, hey, listen, I need someone to work these days, or this is what I'm looking for. But I'm also willing to listen to what's happening in your life. So if you can't work something, I think you have to be bendable also, if that makes sense. I think that's the first thing. I want to make sure the employees know that they're important, and I think they're important, and I know that they're important. And it's not like they come into the store and this is their life.
Right.
They have a life going on outside, and I'm cognizant of that. I want to make sure that if something happens, I want them to go and do what they need to do, but at the same time, know that I'm a business and I want you to be at my store. So it's that. I just want to make sure they know they're important, and I think you want to make sure your employees know that.
Absolutely,
and that's a big thing, because some people, you can get in your own head as a business owner too, and lose track of that, and just be so goal oriented that you don't realize what's happening. Like you get tunnel vision almost. So you don't want to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
You want to know how the person may be feeling emotionally and things like that. You don't want to just feel like they're just coming in to the job just to work.
Right. Yeah. And I think working at my store, because I sell underwear and I sell swimwear and stuff, you have to have fun doing it. So I don't want you to come in there and just not be in a good mood, or not, you should laugh, you should have fun. Yeah.
Right. You don't want them leaning on the counter and stuff like that, just nonchalant and just kind of I don't really want to be here.
I want you to be excited, you know, and I think the more excitement you have sometimes, the easier it is to, reach your goals, no matter who you are. But anyway.
So what are some of the challenges that you may have encountered, with people, whether it may be leaving, disappearing, and how did you overcome those different challenges? Because those do come up too, because some things, unexpected things happen with when you're dealing with people.
Right. Well, I've had employees just disappear. I've had midnight emails saying I can't work anymore. At that point, as a business owner, you're like, well, any plans that you had are done, and now you have to go back into your business. So whether you had a trip planned or whether you had, other things that are happening in your life that you needed to go to, because you can't shut down your store, you can't shut down your business. So when those sudden things happen, and they've happened to me, you just have to go with the flow, and that's one of the things about being a business owner is you're almost married to it. Or if there's anything even closer than married, sometimes that's what it is. So yeah, I mean, you just have to drop everything and be like, okay, I have to do this, I have to concentrate on that. So that's one of the challenges of having employees, kind of disappear on you.
So how do you overcome some of those?
You just have to do it. Whatever it takes to get through that time, and know that this too shall pass type thing. So you'll find some other people out there, and it'll happen, and you just move on. I mean, you can't sit there and cry in your coffee that someone walked out on you or something. You just have to go out there and do it.
You gotta learn how to experience to run a retail store. So what are the day-to-day operations of running that, like as far as like expenses, inventory, stuff like that? What are like the day-to-day things that you have to make sure you got to stay on top of?
Well, I think it differs between business owners.
Okay.
So, for me, I'm dealing with a lot of vendors. I'm dealing with customers. Having a good time with customers. Every day is different. You get inventory in, it's up to you to get it out. Because that's what I do. I'm working 7 days a week. So you're doing everything. In TV news, it's called a one-man band. So where you're you're the photographer, you're the reporter, you're all this stuff. You do everything yourself. You edit, smaller stations. And that's pretty much what you are when you're a business owner. Sometimes you're a one-man band. As you grow, you can hire people possibly to help out in some of the everyday aspects. It's you're doing it all. I mean, everything. Paying the bills, which is important. But yeah.
Absolutely. So what is like some of the best experiences that you would say you've had? Actually, let's good and bad. What are some of the best and worst experiences that you've experienced having your own retail space and expanding and building that up?
Well, I mean, personally, I'm succeeding at something I've wanted to do. So to me, that's good. And when I wake up in the morning, even on the bad days, you wake up in the morning and you just remember, this is what I want to do. This is great. I'm succeeding at one of my goals. But I would have to say, in Pittsburgh, a lot of small businesses stick together. I've met a lot of really great people. One thing I really like is I get a lot of people from around the world, like tourists that are in Pittsburgh, whether on business or whether just visiting. They come into my store and I meet people I've never met before. And I that's really cool. And social media is great, so we still follow each other. And there's I think it's one of the big things I like is just meeting new people. Also, working for myself and making my own decisions is great too. But then some of the bad things, like I said, I don't like to concentrate on the bad things because bad things are going to happen.
Well, just for just for people who've never done it, like what are they going into? Like what can happen just so that they can avoid them?
I mean, you always have to think the worst of the worst and get ready for that.
Right.
And then when that doesn't happen, celebrate that it didn't happen and go on with it. That's cool. You're always it's gonna be different for everybody, but you're always gonna have your bad days and things that happen. You're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe this just happened. I don't know what I'm gonna do. But you just have to pick up and move on. You expect the unexpected. And if you do that, I think you'll be able to conquer anything and meet any challenge. But every challenge is different per each business owner. For me, it's employees now. It's getting online. These are challenges that I'm learning as I go. I mean, I just don't focus on that. If I told anybody, don't focus on it. Yeah.
Maybe I should reword it more challenges, I should say. Because they are definitely things that you can overcome and be able to learn from them.
Right. And that's what, if something does go badly, learn from it and don't make that same mistake again.
Right.
Because, what they say, you should never make the same mistake over and over because you're not going to get anywhere new.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, just learn from it and move on, and know that better days are coming. You know, and I know everyone keeps telling me this is another goal that's happening with me. Is everyone keeps saying you have the 5 year. Small businesses have the 5 year. If you make it 5 years, you're pretty much golden.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been in business?
Well, this April before, and I have people coming into my store and they're like, "Well, how long have you been in business?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's going to be 4 years in April." They're like, "Oh, you had that 5 year thing." I'm like, "Can't we just do it 4 years? Like I made it 4 years. Can we just celebrate that?"
Right. Yeah.
So, but no, 5 years. That's a big thing. And for any small businesses that will start out, if you don't make it the 4 years, because there's nothing saying I'm going to make it 5 years. Mm-hmm. Hopefully I will, but just a lot of the more successful business owners didn't make it their first round. Mm-hmm. You have to remember that you're taking a risk that a lot of people don't take. So remember that, like you're doing something that a lot of people don't do for whatever reason.
Yeah, because 4 years is a huge accomplishment. Right. I mean, because like you said, a lot of people don't even make it that far.
Right. And I don't take anything for granted. I don't take my customers for granted. I don't take anything for granted because, as I said, you don't know if you're going to be there the next year. But I think the 5 year mark. I'm going toward. It's on my calendar. I look at it. I know what day it is. April 12th. So it'll be good.
Awesome. So how did you go about? Because one of the good things that you said that you've gotten out of your good experience is being able to have international people come in and things like that. So how did you go about getting those type of people to come support your business?
They found me.
Okay, so how did they find you?
They found Google. They look up, or they're staying at a hotel nearby. I've had people. I'm still friends, social media friends, because obviously we don't live close by. But these two guys in Brazil, they came up to go to Falling Water, and they got off the plane in Pittsburgh, and they literally jetted to my store. And this was it was really cool. And I just remember them coming in and they're like, "This is exciting! We found you while we were on the plane." They were just looking up places, and I just popped up, and there they were. I mean, you name it. I even have a T-shirt that I made. That one of my T-shirts, it's in the shape of an underwear, and it says "underwear" in several languages. Because what I did is when I was celebrating my second year, I thought, well, why don't I just make, to celebrate the people who've come from different countries into my store. And so I have like languages of the people who've come in my store from where they're from, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's really cool. I love it. I don't know. They find me. It's great. You make a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
One of the things I believe happened. Weren't you featured in an international article or something along those lines before?
I've been in magazines, local magazines.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's how they found me, but that's how a lot of local people find me, which is great. And like I said, Pittsburgh has this thing to where they want to see people succeed. And so they see you or they hear about you, they want to come and check you out and say, "Hey, listen, we're glad you're here." But yeah, and there was a brand I carry as an Australian brand, and they had mentioned my name in South Korea during some type of show that was.
That's huge.
Yeah, it was cool. I'm like, all right, that's cool. South Korea, that's great.
Yeah.
And
you're like, I've never even been.
Yeah, I've never been. But my name was mentioned because I carry the brand. I was one of the few places in the country that carry the brand in the U.S. So yeah, it's weird how everything works. It's just everything works, and sometimes you're just like, how did that even happen? I don't even know. But you have to celebrate it and enjoy it. You don't ever want to not celebrate the small things.
Absolutely.
And sometimes they're big, but yeah.
Absolutely. So that actually brings me to another good question. So how do you go about, having a retail store, how do you go about marketing your business? How do you go about expanding your business? Because like I said, that is a big task that you have to take on when you're running a retail store. So how do you do your marketing? How do you how do you go about expanding the business?
Well, so I'm still learning because every day something new happens. Every day there's a new social media site or something that, or there's a new way people are advertising. So I don't think you ever stop learning how to do that. But one thing about my store is it opened in an area that a lot of people still didn't go to. There wasn't really anything around me. I was kind of like an island where I was, and especially for retail.
So found a really good location.
Yeah. I mean, you have to, but it was still blossoming around me. So I had to get the word out that, hey, listen, this is where I am. Because a lot of people, there are still people finding me today. Almost 4 years later, they're like, I've never heard of you. But I think, obviously you want to do magazines, social media. Social media is huge. Word of mouth is huge for people, which is another reason why when you have an employee, you want to make sure that, they're the face of your store, that, you give off good vibes and want people to come back. But social media is huge, and social media is changing constantly. And so you're always wanting to try new things. I'm trying little snippets of videos. I'm trying, anything I can think of. My brain's always swirling, trying to come up with, what I can do next. And I think anybody who works in media, I always like to hear what they're doing, and be like, oh, maybe I can do that for my store to get the word out a little bit more. But yeah, it's always a struggle for that, always.
So I kind of have a good tip. Are you doing anything on like Instagram stories or Facebook stories?
So I'm doing Instagram. I'm doing Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah, those are I like Instagram. I don't know.
You like Instagram?
I got Instagram.
I love it too.
Yeah, and Facebook's good too. Don't get me wrong. I like Facebook.
It's the biggest.
Yeah. And you can't go wrong doing any of that. But like I said, I'm still learning things. Yeah. I haven't done stories yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I think I got something for you.
All right, I'm open to it.
So one of the great things about Instagram stories and Facebook stories is that they are available and appear for 24 hours.
Okay.
What you can have in there is limited time offers in there.
Oh, yeah.
So when people go and check them out, they know it's only limited for that 24 hours. It's like, oh, I gotta click on it because I don't want to miss it before it disappears. Yeah. So you could do like little promotions in there for people to see and check out and be like, hey, I have this 24-hour promo going on. Check it out in the stories. Come stop by the store. You got traffic coming in that way.
Yeah. Maybe we'll have to talk a little bit after the show.
we could definitely do that.
Right.
I feel like you definitely utilizing social media and all the different tools and templates and all the different stuff that they have and using it to your advantage is definitely huge.
Yeah.
I love using social media. So also, where do you see, Trim Pittsburgh going in like the next few years? What's like the big goal a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, which would be a huge milestone? Yeah, absolutely. So what's the big goals for that going into the future?
Well, 2018, the goal is to do more online. As much as I love brick and mortar, you can't just deny it. But so online, which is great. I'm excited about it. It's going to be a little challenging for me to figure it all out. There'll be a learning curve, I'm sure. But that, and then I'd like to expand. I'm not exactly sure how. If expand space. I've had people who've come up to me, ask me to open in other cities. That's something I'm one step at a time because you don't want to spread out too thin. But internet or the websites, not websites, I'm sorry, online is next. And then after that, maybe a little expansion, whether it's like my store gets bigger or maybe, I don't know. You never really know.
Another store?
Maybe another store.
Okay.
You have to see how things go. I don't want to make I have goals in my head. Another store would be great. A larger store would even be great. I think a larger store would be easier than opening up a second store because that comes with a whole bunch of other challenges. As in, you can't be in both places at once and all that.
The infrastructure at the one would have to be able to self-sustain itself.
Yeah. So employees would have to be there, continuously, which is something that, if everything still goes well, I want to do at some point. But I'd like to have like the little victories first. If that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And not that they're little, but so online's next, and then maybe expansion.
So what are some of the challenges, for somebody that, inspires to have their own retail store? Yeah. What are some of the advice that you would give someone that wants to get into that space, wants to get that started? What advice or inspiration or motivation would you give to someone on that?
So brick and mortar stores, I would say, especially at the beginning, expect it to be a little slow. You're not going to learn everything. You're not going to know everything. That's one thing you find out quickly. Know that you have a challenge when it comes to online shopping. You have to be different, and you also have to make people want to come back. And you have to, remember, this is your face, this is your reputation, this is the store, this is you. and you want to put the best foot out there, because in the end, you know, when you're old and gray, people are going to look back and they're either going to remember you or they're not. And I want to be remembered. I think, though, expect the unexpected. You know, it's not going to move as fast as what you think. But in the end, it's rewarding. And just celebrate the victories and move on from the failures. Or as I like to call them, learning curves. And yeah, so...
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Any big things that you see for yourself doing, maybe even outside of the store? Maybe writing a book or anything like that down the future? Or yes, no, maybe so?
I don't know about a book. You know, I love... You know, I don't know. I want to enjoy life.
Okay.
You know, I've had a lot of time working in newsrooms, you know, continuously. So I want to learn how to relax a little bit. Although being a small business owner,
so have more work-life balance.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's important. Yeah, it's important.
Okay.
But at the same time, like, if you do too much of it, you can be a little slack here, and you know, you don't want to do that. But I just travel. I want to spend time with my friends, and you know, I'm an uncle. I like to spend time with my family. Yeah, so the work-life balance. Make sure you kind of have it. But then who knows? Maybe one day I don't know, write a book or something.
Okay.
Yeah, if I'm successful, and you know, but I also want to, like, you know, you always want to give back to the community, and that's what I try to do too. Is, you know, charities, working with charities if I can. Or anything like that, I think is great. Helping other small business owners is great. I think, you know, if anyone takes the risk and they work really hard, success will come. It may not be how you started, but it will come in some form. And always be open to advice from other people. Just be open to advice. And small business owners in Pittsburgh, they work together. It's the biggest thing I found out. And if you have any problems or you have any questions, you can hit somebody up, and they're more than willing to help you out.
So great advice would definitely be hitting up other small business owners and things like that, seeing what their experiences were. Some maybe if there was a challenge that you maybe encounter, ask them things like. So that's definitely good. Some good tips as well. So yeah, I mean, you know, having, you know, I mean, it doesn't necessarily have to be writing a book or something like that. That was just something I want to do. But you know, having the work-life balance is definitely important. Being able to, you know, provide a great service to your community, and also to be able to do charity work and stuff like that. Those are definitely important things to be able to do as well in life, and just in general.
Right.
So what would you say, just in wrapping up a little bit here, what would you say is if it was something that we didn't cover, something we didn't talk about, what's the big message that you want to talk about, or something that may be on your mind that you feel really passionate about, or just something that you feel like you just really want to leave an impact on people, or what would you say your legacy would be, Thomas West?
Whew.
I know, it's pretty loaded right there.
I think how I want to be remembered, I guess, or my legacy, someone who worked hard, someone who had challenges but overcame the challenges. But I also want to be somebody who, when people look back and be like, you know, I had this issue and I went to Tom and he helped me, or he had some advice, or, you know, he was real. And I think being real, as lame as that sounds, it means a lot. Like,
absolutely.
Because there's a lot of people who put on, like, facades. And I don't think facades get you anywhere. I think the best thing you can be is just real. Learn yourself, know who you are, and don't put anything fake out there. Because in the end, you want to be remembered for you, not for the facade that you put on yourself, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, I just want to help people. It sounds lame, like heal the world or something, but you know what I mean? Like I want to.
I don't think it's lame at all.
But I want to help people out, and I literally have this. I don't know. There's something inside of me that says I want to help people. If people work hard, or if I can help out any way I can, it's just inside of me that I want to help out, and I want to do what I can, and just be a good person is what I want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and I feel the same way. I definitely feel that within you. You genuinely just want to be able to help people. I definitely feel, you know, that you have been 100% transparent and things like that, from the time we've met and things like that, and up to the point of even doing the show. So I definitely feel like you're doing a lot of great things. You're definitely doing a lot of great things for the community. You're doing a great service to people, which is, like I said before, one of the great reasons why I wanted to bring you onto the show and be able to share that experiences with other people. Because one of the things about you is you're in the process right now. You're actually right in the thick of things.
Yeah.
So a lot of the things that you're able to share with people, it'll be extremely helpful because you're on the journey, and they could take the journey with you,
right.
Which is one of the things that I feel very good about, being able to be connected with you and be able to learn things from you as well, as we all continue to grow and develop. So those are definitely key things. So where's the best place people can contact you, maybe personally, or even what's the best way people can contact you and get to your store?
Well, my second home is called Trim Pittsburgh, or sometimes my first home. But
right.
No, email is contact@trimpittsburgh.com. Everything social media, the website is trimpittsburgh.com. Excuse me. And the phone number for the store is 412-512-9251. Or you can just stop by East Liberty. I always tell my friends...
what's the address of the store?
It's 5968 Baum Boulevard.
Okay.
So look for the steeple of the Presbyterian Church. I'm pretty much right underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, if you're in the neighborhood, stop by, say hi. You don't have to buy anything, but I actually want to just say hi to people.
Yeah.
Stop by and just say, hey, I'm in the neighborhood. Just wanted to say, which happens daily.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. So,
yeah, that would be awesome. If anybody's watching and happens to be in the area and stops by, let them know who sent you. Because that would make me feel great. That would let me know who we're touching and things like that. And have somebody come in and just to check out the store would be awesome.
Yeah.
I definitely see a lot of big things coming out. I wish you the best of luck with everything.
Same.
In that 5-year anniversary, you're gonna kill it.
It's circled on my calendar. I'm ready to go. Yeah.
So that's definitely gonna be good. And then, like I said, even in the future, we could do a recap and do another episode, see how everything is doing, kind of touch base again, and I believe at that point in time you'll have much more success at that time as well. So
I'm hoping. Good.
So I definitely appreciate you being on the show.
You.
A lot of good information. We're definitely going to be able to stay in touch and talk some more. So we definitely will do this some more. So. Now that you know what Thomas does with his 24 hours, I want to know what you do with your 24 hours. Definitely like, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment any questions or concerns down below. And guess what? We will see you on the next episode.